Hey yo, what up? You know who it is? One only Mr. Thanksgiving, Drum F. Kennedy, Drum Cruz, mixtape president, Barack Drum. I go by many names, you know what I mean? G-Town Drum. Right now you're tuned in to hip hop since 1987, man. What a wonderful year. Look at us now.
Hip hop since 1987. It's your man Eldorado. We live in ATL right now, and I have the pleasure and the honor of being with Mr. DJ Drama, Barack Drama himself. Thank you very much for taking out the time to give us this interview down here in Atlanta.
It's all love.
Now, for a lot of cats who may not know, you're originally from the Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
When you first came to Atlanta from Philly, it wasn't the biggest, you know, cats nowadays are transitioning, going from New York to Atlanta, New York to Florida. When you did it, it wasn't a big move. It was a risky decision. Yeah. What made you decide to come to ATL?
I mean, more than anything, like, you know, I chose Atlanta because of college, you know, and Temple would have been like 13th year high school, you know, so that I didn't want to do that, you know. I thought about going to New York, possibly going to NYU, because when I was younger I wanted to be into film, you know, I was really into film. My sister was a documentary filmmaker, and then, you know, I came down here in '94 with my pop on a trip. He had a conference to go to, and it was this joint called the National Black Arts Festival, and I just got to really just vibe out and see the culture in Atlanta, and, like, you know, just like a lot of young, you know, African American people doing a lot of things, you know. So, make a long story short, my pop also knew the dean of admissions at Clark Atlanta University. I was able to get me a free ride scholarship, so it was a no-brainer. Come down here, go to school at CAU, which was a good school. You know what I mean? I came to visit, felt the vibe, and, you know, to be in a city that I felt like I could do my thing, because, you know, I've been DJing for a minute, even when I was in Philly, coming up in a little, like, you know, little high school scene, and, you know, doing the parties at Winners here and dances here, and, you know, from that era. So that's really what brought me to Atlanta. And, you know, I mean, it's, you know, it's definitely it was a great move for me, you know. And truth be told, I remember people in high school telling me, like, you know, you're gonna go down there and never come home, and I took that very offensively. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm coming home, you know. And, you know, you come to Atlanta, and it's just a different energy in the air. I mean, you know, we all know Philly, we all know the city of Philly to be what it is, and, you know, in a lot of senses, in a lot of years, it's been a very crab in a bucket mentality, because there's not a lot of opportunities, you know, that hinders us at the crib with as much talent as there is, and so forth. And coming to a city like Atlanta, where it was like, you know, it was people who did the same thing I did, that, you know, would reach out and show love, and I just, you know, it was a different type of atmosphere, and it was a very open community musically, you know, and just even for me, just to be in a school like the AUC and be able to, you know, have to do parties and please people from the crib, from New York, from Atlanta, from DC to Cali to the islands. It really trained me how to be a very versatile DJ, and to, you know, just, you know, when I was in Philly, I was playing, you know, Biggie and fucking Smith and Wesson, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it took me from being a backpacker to really understanding, you know, what it took to DJ on a certain level.
What made you decide to even start DJing and wanting to be a DJ?
The movie Juice, man. I went to go see Juice at Andorra Mall, back in whatever year that came out. You know, I was a young boy, and I was just, you know, before that I was really into skateboarding. Like, you know, I came up, you know, skateboarding down Love Park. Me and Stevie Williams used to be together. You know, I remember when I first seen Stevie land like 13 kick flips after that. And so, you know, around that time I was about to go into high school, and I went to see Juice, man, and that was the first time I had really, like, seen, like, a DJ on the big screen doing it, you know. And then I just started really, you know, studying the culture and going down to Armand's Records at 11th and Filbert. I wouldn't spend my lunch money, and I would buy, like, you know, all the records. And at that time I was kind of late, so all the classics, you know, I had to buy on the bootlegs. But, you know, I mean, just just like anybody, I'm from the hip hop generation, so I grew up loving Run DMC, and of course, watching Jazzy Jeff do what he does, and Miz and Cash Money, and Philly was just always known for DJ's city, So for me, like that was really what made me want to become a DJ. And I went to Central High School, so when I was in school, we would always walk up to Broad and Olney, and that was still when it was like paper flyers, and I remember like whoever was hot, I remember it was definitely a DJ Flex in Philly at that time, and his name used to be on all the flyers, and whoever I don't know if Rand was on the flyers or Kev or whatever, but I was just like, man, like that was my goal, just to get my name on a flyer that somebody was giving out at Broad and Olney for one of the parties, point blank period. Broad and Olney, you getting the Northeast coming that way, and the McDonald's used to be popping, so it was popping. So that was all I wanted to try to do. So hence though, I wound up, my first party was shout my man Ari, this Jewish boy I went to school with. He gave me $40, and I had one crate of records that I spun with for probably 3-4 hours. I had to bring all my equipment. These is old stories. Y'all gonna have me on my Meek Miller here, man.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. I don't think enough people in the industry today give you credit for being a pioneer that you are.
Yeah.
You were definitely one of the first persons, DJs or anything, as I was coming up, who was bringing artists from the South and bringing their vibe up north. You did it with Wayne, a lot of numerous artists. Do you remember what Gangsta Girl you dropped when you said, this really might be it. This might be the one.
Well, just to even to go back a little further too, I first started making my mixtapes when I was in high school, and I would that's my man DC calling me right now. Hold on, get DC on the phone. Hey yo, shout out hip hop since 1987. Nigga, shout out hip hop since 1987. We on camera. Don Cannon in the building.
Yes, sir.
That's the boy Cannon. I'm gonna call you back.
Okay.
Alright. I came up watching Doo-Wop and SNS and Ron G and everything like that. So my first tape was basically, I just copied Doo-Wop 95 Live. And, I had reached out to Black Thought, and I had reached out to, Malik B, and Bahamadia was my next door neighbor in West Philly. And I copied the style and just got a bunch of, Philly artists to freestyle on my tapes. And, when I came down to Atlanta, that was still my thing. I was on my DJ thing. And I started, making mixtapes and various types of tapes. And, I would hustle them on campus over at CAU. And, I would make like a East Coast tape and a reggae tape and a dance hall tape, and at that time the only thing really popping in Atlanta in my era was Big DJ Jelly, and Monte, and they had a certain style of mixtape they was doing, but up top it was you had Host and it was freestyles, and Dipset was making it was doing, and Fifth was doing what he was doing. So, me being from up top, that was kind of more of what I what I came from. So my style of tape, embodied that. But, when I used to go try to hustle my tapes, I couldn't compete. I couldn't compete with a K Slayer or Who Kid when it came to exclusive East Coast music and everything. And I started a Down South series. And the name Gangsta Girls had just popped up. Me and Sense was just being creative, and I came up with the name Gangsta Girls. And when the tapes first started going, they were just compilations, just the hottest songs in the South at the time, so forth and so forth. And now, mind you, me growing up being a Tribe fan and being a Wu-Tang fan and an Outkast fan and Snoop and everything, I still was always in the lyrics, and crunk music was real big in Atlanta at the time. But I knew from being here, that the South really, I felt like the South didn't get its respect when it came to bars and lyricism and things of that nature. So when I created Gangsta Grills, that was kind of like my early goal of mine, to like really be able to showcase this, you know, what the South was on. I met T.I. 2000, just got out of school. Jason Jeter brought him to the crib. You know, he was fresh from the hood. You know, he came in, spit. First time I ever met him, he said, "I'm the king of the South." And I was like, yo, this guy's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, as Grand Hustle was making their movement, you know, I was hustling in the streets. You know, I would go through the campus. I would go to Georgia State and set up, you know, all my CDs. People like, "Who's DJ Drama?" I'd be like, "I don't know. I just work for homie." You know, I'm just out here telling them whatever. So the opportunity came when Jason Jeter called me, and he was like, "Look, you know, that last tape you did, it was He was like, "I want to do a tape." This was after T.I. had lost his Arista deal. "I want to do a tape with just all Tip and Grand Hustle." And I was like, "Bet, let's do it." You know, and because that project really gave me the opportunity to do what I wanted to, do what Fifth and Who Kid was doing, and Green and M, and you know what I'm saying, like, okay, here's somebody I can connect with. You know, I saw what T.I. was doing. You know, I started coming around and just building, and you know, we created that relationship and that rapport, because I know how the game go. I studied the game, so I knew as a DJ, if I could align myself with, you know, a hot artist that was definitely on the come up, you know, we could, you know, create history.
Shout my hip hop since 1987, niggas. Hip hop since 1987.com.